we have yet another breaking story, of course, about more deployments. This is no surprise to our community. We've all been calling this. You've probably all been telling your friends and family that things are about to go down. Here is yet another show that you need to share with them and get them in the know. Thousands more U.S. troops attack aircraft heading to Middle East as Israel targets Hezbollah in Lebanon. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is sending several thousand more U.S. troops and aircraft to the Middle East as Israel continues its increase in attacks against Hez. Austin ordered aircraft units and their associated personnel set to leave the Middle East region to remain in the area. So these aren't replacements, these are additions. To remain in the area, and those set to replace them will instead join alongside them, amounting to a, quote, a few thousand troops from multiple aircraft squadrons, Tom Cresson, a Pentagon spokesperson, said. Says, quote, the Secretary also increased the readiness of additional U.S. forces to deploy, elevating our preparedness to respond to various contingencies. Now, contingencies is a word that we have heard far too much in the last couple weeks. In fact, we just covered last week the 28th Amendment, the supposed proposed 28th Amendment, which is supposed to help us in the event that we lose half of our Congress. That in that event, essentially that they would quickly replace those Congress with basically a short list of people that they pick instead of having a special pick the Congress day and picking the replacements. So there would be no, let's all vote for who we want. It would just be, boom, put into place, which is really scary if you think about it. And it's also kind of funny when I think about that when they handed out satellite phones to all of the Congress. Only the Congress on one side actually took those phones. Oddly enough, people on the right, the Congress, a lot of them said, I don't need that. I thought that was funny. They said 50% of the Congress took them. So fast forward to all of this going down, the wars, the conflicts that are happening right now, and now we are deploying again. What a wild world we live in. We're going to cover more when we get back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. We all know this is persuasion. All these secret agents bringing our invasion. All right, let's get right into it. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Speaking of Foogle fam, let's head over to the chat. What is going on? Blesseldo, we got Belly Brown Show. We have Tracy Q, Randy Man, Lady Yell, White Roses, WIS Jen. Thank you so much. Dagged and Stump, thank you for being here. Let's see here. Paul and Satina. Well, thank you for that. Sign Digger, Carol, Randy Man, Meat Puppet 007, and TJ Dilly. Daniel Sen, thank you guys. Sean C, Gemcat, and the rest of the positive community that has popped up into the chat today. All right. Now, let's get over, and we're going to go back to the news. We, of course, have over 90,000 Georgia residents sheltering a day after chemical plant fire sends chlorine into the air. Now, there are a ton of people that are actually covering this. We actually have a couple of clips from a couple of our friends here. But again, this has actually turned into a way bigger mess than many people thought was going to happen. Over 90,000 Georgia residents sheltering a day after a chemical plant fire sends chlorine into the air. Now, Dex, you're in Georgia. You actually got an alert yourself, correct? And that we have that.
Yeah, you have that alert.
So
yeah, we got it.
Explain that.
1:40 today. It just went off on our phones. Everybody got it. And yeah, it basically tells us that it's a public safety alert. It talks about the area, it talks about the lab fire. The name there is a name of the company. So for those of you that aren't familiar with BioLab, that is a company that makes pool products. You can actually go find their products. They have a whole bunch of brands under them. And they basically, I think it was some form of chlorine and other compounds that basically got, ignited, probably due to water. They said it was from a faulty sprinkler system or a faulty test with a sprinkler system that caused something that shouldn't have been introduced to water, like chlorine, and it started it. But this isn't the first time. This happened in 2020, same place. I think it's happened more times before then too. So, but this is massive. It is so big, because this was yesterday. Everybody was talking about it, and it was affecting the local people around there. And now it just kept going. Today got bigger and bigger, and it's a matter of which way is the wind going to blow. And because it's so much smoke, and when you see some of these images from the other Fugel fan members that have gathered some of the different viewpoints out there, you're going to just be in awe, and it's pretty scary. It closed down the interstate. You couldn't even get through the interstate,
which is not. I mean, it's not right there. It's a half mile, a quarter mile away from the actual building that's on fire. So this is a big fire. Let's go over to Trinity. This is one of our awesome mods and a great creator. She is actually on the friends list as well. You can go over to marfooglenews.com/friends.
Massive fire from a BioLab chemical plume in the air east of Atlanta. Anybody around that area are told to evacuate. The interstate is shut down after this fire happens at this BioLab. They're told to leave or take shelter because of the fallout. It says, here's a view of the chemical plume rising above Interstate 20 east of Atlanta.
Now, by the way, Trinity did a great edit on this. You can see all of the clips there. If you just look at that plume. And this was earlier on. Let me show you another one here.
Rockdale County Fire Chief Marion McDaniel told reporters that a sprinkler head malfunctioned around 5 a.m.
So basically, she's going over the stuff there. I did want to show you a couple more images here. Again, just insane plumes coming out of this. I mean, it looks like something out of space, out of a space movie or something, like showing a nuke go off. Now, I'm going to head over and I'm going to also show you another Fugel fam friends
guys,
list.
welcome back.
This is Survival Living, and he had some great comments on this.
Or at the same lab multiple times. A lot of weird stuff going on with this. Of course, this isn't conspiracy theory. This has happened before at the same lab. This has actually happened before at the same lab multiple times. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Over 90,000 Georgian residents taking shelter after chemical fire of haze.
I wanted to click through here. It's just so incredible.
Done videos on preparing shelter in place, evacuation and stuff, and roll through the area. Yeah, first one, 2004.
So I want to remind you guys, we have lots of great creators on our friends list. There's lots of great information about the Georgia fires, and we have a great list of creators that right here are covering these. So you also have some locals in the mix. If you go down this entire list and you hit subscribe, you're going to get some really, really great people. That was Survival Living. And then, of course, Trinity, Red or Blue Pill, Hi-Ho, Kermit the Frog here. Survival Living is down below on the creators list, on the friends down there. And again, you can see him down there as well. So make sure to go check him out. All right, and then if you have footage of this, if you're a local, please make sure to send it in. Now, Dex, as a Georgia resident, I actually asked one of our good friends who is a naturalist, and she is actually incredible with health. She suggested that you even take like iodine or anything that basically stops you from absorbing any of these things that are in the air. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. It really depends on where you are and what's coming down. And if you live near this, I mean, 90,000 people is a lot of people. But then again, just one county can be like 50,000. So you're probably talking a couple counties when you think about 90,000 people in that area. Because it's like not rural, but it's like the suburban area of eastern Atlanta. I'm more on the west side. It's like the complete opposite end of Atlanta from where I live. Atlanta is a very sprawled out metropolitan area. It's full of suburbs all the way around this giant perimeter. There's actually far fewer people that live in the city than they live outside the city. But yeah, and again, I just want to make sure people understand the term biolab is a brand name. This is not like what you guys think of when we talk about those other places that actually do, crazy experiments. It's not that. It's the brand name of Pool Supply Chemicals. It's a giant chlorine plant, basically.
Yeah, just this. So with this kind of thing, this doesn't affect inflation. This doesn't affect like our chicken supply or anything, but this affects the air quality of an entire giant area. And could it affect more? Is this going to get worse over time? Really, there's only really one way to know, and that's to wait. As far as folks that are in Georgia, like Dex, just be aware and keep track of this. And you might have to go on your own and of course, keep looking. If you're a local in Georgia, keep watching your Georgian news to see if there's any updates. Because honestly, if that starts coming over you and it's dropping down on you, you might want to protect yourself. I would think that like not an N95, but like those actual aspirator, if it got really bad, that you would want to be wearing one of those. And then another suggestion from Keeping It Magical, Kim, she said to have your filters going and all that, which is, most people do, but if you don't have one, they are a good thing to have, especially with all of the crap in our air in general. So, and then we have, of course, North American Aerospace Defense, NORAD Command. Get this. Dex, do you want to introduce this?
Yeah, so this happened in Alaska, and we talk about these air intercepts all the time, but when you see this one, okay, you've got a large aircraft. I can't tell what it is, obviously being escorted by another jet beside it, and then all of a sudden this Russian plane comes within feet, really close, and just buzzes this jet.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Flying right here, and then you see his reaction. Look at that. That's so insane. Let me freeze frame that.
And then even the screenshots that they have from the other camera angles, it's amazingly close.
Like, and he turns sideways around him. This is some Top Gun stuff. Let's see here. Look at that. But I will say this. Everybody's seen the Blue Angels. Now I don't know. I would assume that most of these pilots can do what the Blue Angels can do. I would assume that you could say this is really dangerous. This is a wide angle camera. So I'm trying to think of how that would affect. If it's wide angle, it's going to make it look like it's a bigger distance than it is. Because I don't know what the actual distance between these planes are. That makes it look like, now that isn't a big distance at all. But at the same time, these are professional pilots that go in formations where they're right on top of each other, they're right below, they're right next to each other. They do tricks and stunts like this, closer than that. Half of the tricks, they're overlapping wings and things. So at the same time, it's like, this is a freaky event.
Yeah, but that's an escort. I mean, you think about it. We're looking out the view from, I'm assuming, a fighter jet escorting the other plane, and an escort is usually pretty close. I mean, I know it looks far in the distance there, but it's so close. Like you wouldn't expect another plane to split an escort unless you're being aggressive.
Well, yeah,
and obviously they're being aggressive.
And it's in between. Think about if you're the escort protecting it. Now that plane, if we had this plane turn towards the escort and hit it with something, I mean, that's pretty insane. I wonder how high they are. It looks way up there. The clouds are way down there. Are they 50, 60,000 feet or something? Either way, there's been events like this. We've been covering them. Look at that one. You can see the tip of the right wing, or I'm sorry, the left wing, and the escorted plane. One of those, I don't know what that is. What was that? I was trying to think of what kind that was. Is right over there. So perfect shot there. So they're getting up close and personal. But that's not the craziest thing for today. In fact, we have a lot more. So again, there's just more craziness one after another. In fact, here in a second, we're going to be talking about the UN just adopted the scariest pact for the future. Before we do, make sure to go check out EMP Shield if you haven't already. This is a device that can protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, pretty much anything you want to keep running against an EMP strike from an adversary or even a non-nuclear EMP from a backpack device or a Carrington-level event from the sun. DHS and all of the different warnings that we've covered over the last 2 months, a lot of them are talking about these smaller devices carried by, adversarial kind of spies or groups. That's creepy, especially with what's going on. If you follow this channel, you guys are in our community, you know the chatter that's happening right now. Highly recommend getting this because it is something that once it's done, then you don't have to worry about that aspect. We hear a lot of people say, well, what if you have your car protected in the traffic, all the other cars are stopped, so you won't be able to drive anywhere. Guarantee you that people are going to be driving on sidewalks, people are going to be driving whichever way they can. You'd rather have that car to be able to charge your other things, to have that engine to keep warm, to of course, people are instructed, a lot of the rich people that are getting these lessons from, prepping classes, they're being instructed to just straight up drive through fences, drive over sidewalks, and I believe that's actually what will happen. But you can't do any of that if your car doesn't run. So this is the same company outfitting, of course, government agencies like DHS and DOD. So again, this is something that's now military tested. And again, this is something that can also protect against solar events. So go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. When you use code MARF, you're supporting our independent channel. And when you're watching CNN or all these big behemoths that are basically trying to crush any independent news channel, you're fighting back with that by sharing our stuff out with, of course, hitting like and subscribing. But it is a battle. So if you want to help in that, beyond sharing and subscribing and sharing with a friend, make sure to go do this because you're going to be protecting yourself at the same time as helping us. You're going to get $50 off per device. All right, and then let's go back into this scary pact. Now, this is, first of all, it's just one of many. This community has talked about so many different upcoming things that are coming in really 2030. This pact, Dex, do you want to go over why this is so freaky?
Yeah, certainly. So basically, while no one was paying attention, this thing got passed back about 8 days ago, on the 22nd, at the UN, and it's the Pact for the Future. It was formally adopted, and world leaders say adopted the Pact for the Future that includes a global digital compact and declaration on future generations. This pact is a culmination of an inclusive year-long process to adopt international cooperation to the realities of today and the challenges of tomorrow. Sounds like political speak, but listen to what they're talking about. They're talking about a pact of all the nations and setting the stage for the future. The most wide-ranging international agreement in many years, covering entirely new areas, as well as issues on the agreement, has not been possible in decades. The pact aims above all to ensure that international institutions can deliver in the face of the world that has changed dramatically since we were created. This is coming from the Secretary General. Now, you'd think something that says the most wide-ranging international agreement in many years would make headlines, as the author writes here, but it didn't. Nobody's talked about it. So the Pact for Future, the Global Digital Compact, the Declaration of Future Generations, opens the door to these possibilities, as it says. The Pact covers, it goes on to say, the Pact covers a broad range of issues, including peace, security, sustainability, development, the change, digital cooperation, human rights, gender, youth, and future generations, and the transformation of, this is a good one, transformation of global governance. So this thing is setting the stage for the, what some would call that global world kind of takeover, one world scenario, however you want to phrase it. Everybody's got a different word for it. I don't want to say them all. What do you think, Adam?
I'll tell you this. So, first of all, how was no one talking about this on September 22nd? And if there was, please send me a link. Go over on X and share with me the people that were covering this, because they are awesome. This pact covers basically all areas of human activity. That is a scary part. Okay, this is terrifying for many of us. For others, they're just totally got their head in the sand. Some don't see why this is a big deal. Some don't even see why we should have a problem. In theory, all of this, sustainable development, this, digital cooperation, human rights, those are all good things. All of these things are good things by themselves. But when they're all teamed up and you have essentially one governing thing for the whole planet, that doesn't work with humans unless something drastic changes. They can't do this with how the world is set up right now without massively overhauling everything. And I mean everything. Tracking, tracing, travel, money, currency, everything. And what's funny is they're not going to go, hey, by the way, we're going to switch off the US dollar and we're going to go with the Zhenyuan dollar ruble, stick stock bomb. We're just going to combine all the currency into one. They're not going to just say that. This is why, and I think this is part of the motive for some that want a world war. A world war would quickly break down all sorts of rules, laws, everything else. Heck, you saw what they did when there was a thing that happened in 2019. Look at how many things they were able to bend to their will because they're doing it for our safety. We were all confined to our home because of that event in 2019. What do you think they can do when the entire world goes to war? And what if they go, what if this is like a wrestling match where they've already predetermined who's going to win? That's a scary, scary thought. Not saying that's how it is, but just saying a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about this. And it's what people have talked about for years, and it goes quiet for a while, and then people bring it back up. But this has been talked about for years. And that what really gets me is the UN and the talk about all of this stuff. It's gone back more than a decade. And it's like we knew years ago. That says that there is some sort of guiding blueprint and that we're not crazy. They are just very secretive. By the way, I did suggest to others to watch a interview. You might not be able to follow the whole thing, and I'm not saying that to make you feel dumb, but I will say this. Eric Weinstein, not the same Weinstein. I don't believe any relation, or hopefully not related, a physicist that just went on a podcast. Some of you have probably already saw this, Eric Weinstein. The video, I think, has a thumb that says systemic societal collapse. And I did grab just such a great number of nuggets from that interview. The reason I say it might lose you is he is a physicist trying to basically talk to regular people about all this crazy stuff. Sometimes I think he almost kind of goes overboard trying to, lose you in smart land. But if you do understand the whole thing, cheers to you. Half of it, though, I tell you what, I think he does have a really good grip on a lot of things. So go over and check that out. I'll pull it up before too long. In fact, when I switch over to Dex, I'll pull it up so you can see it. But he talks about all of this and this whole system that they're trying to put into place. And it even kind of brings into why they don't want the former prez as the new prez. So it's just terrifying. That's just my opinion. And then time is running out. U.S. port strike could begin Tuesday. In fact, could it start now? I mean,
it did. It already started.
Oh, no.
It started while the show started. So,
oh, no.
If you can pull up, there's a document in here that shows like a map with a whole bunch of bubbles in it showing where all these ports are. This started, I guess, maybe 43 minutes ago. I'm assuming they decided to walk out around midnight or somewhere near that. So it's now 12:43 on the East Coast, but the ILA is walked out. East Coast is stranded as far as ports go. So this first image you'll see in the doc here will give you an idea. If you scroll down a little more, you'll find all the ports and the tonnages and the workers. So the deal's fallen through. They're officially on strike. There you go. All the way up to Boston, Delaware, New Jersey, Baltimore, Virginia, North Carolina, of course, Savannah, where I'm at in Georgia, South Carolina, everything through Florida from Miami, Jacksonville, Tampa. Those are all major ports. Everglades is a big port. And then, of course, you got Mobile is another huge port. And then Texas, you've got a really big port there and New Orleans. So all of those are officially on strike. And
wait a second.
Completely disrupt our supply chain.
So this means, are they not going to be bringing containers into these ports?
That's correct. The ports themselves will not allow containers to come through.
No. But the West Coast isn't striking? So other ports are going to be... Let me just run this by you. Am I stupid? Other ports are going to be at overcapacity. They're going to try to make up for it. If this keeps going, they're going to try to send them to other ports. Those ports will be way, way over capacity. They're going to be so busy, people will be running around with like chickens with their heads cut off. Wouldn't that be a good time to sneak some stuff in?
That's absolutely what's going to happen. The West Coast will be jammed.
I feel this is really strange timing for one coast to be basically down. Now, does this apply to everybody? Does this not apply to some of the ports that are kind of more, that have huge chunks that are devoted to Chinese? Yeah, well, the Chinese imports all come in the West Coast, right? Or do they come in both?
No, they go into both. It just depends on the speed, because you can bring a ship around. A large container ship to the East Coast is cheaper than bringing it across freight from California, but if you need it in time, you'll spend more money and have it come across freight from California to the East Coast. So, but look, here's the other thing to think about. How many people have been devastated from Florida up to North Carolina right now? The massive wipeout that just happened with this hurricane is very devastating. And for those of us that live in the areas, we know it. For those of you on the rest of the nation, you probably don't hear much about it because it's just not news they're covering outside of when the hurricane happened. There are hundreds of people gone, but there are hundreds and thousands of people who have no homes, have nowhere to go now. Things have been wiped out. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to have a supply chain issue on the East Coast?
Yeah,
what are they doing to us?
This is horrendous. And you know how many potential strikes that we've covered, Dex? You know what gets me is almost all of them, none of them, a lot of them are solved beforehand. I'm hoping that this is solved by morning, like by miracle, right? And then are the West Coast, and they said our West Coast union as well. Yeah, they are, but they're not striking. Another thing that could happen, what if, and how many times, Dex, have we covered a union strike and then other unions that do the same thing go, well, we want higher pay too?
Well, and if I remember correctly, when we had a rail strike, the president has the authority to override it and send them back to work, and could do that. And you would think something like this would be that important. Yeah, it's going to be a big deal. If this is more than just let's negotiate for a day or two, if this turns into weeks, we're in trouble. And the southern and the eastern coast and seaboard there is going to be, I mean, New York's huge. It's a lot of tonnage there. A lot of tonnage in the south too.
I'm going to take a guess, guys. If you're in the Coast Guard, you might be working at the ports here soon. Because I bet you if this goes on for any amount of time, just like during CV when we had that big jam up when 40,000 ships were sitting off the West Coast, I bet you they're going to try to get the Coast Guard to do it. Or how does that rule work? I know they can open back the ports. The government can go, you have to work. But can they make civilians that work there now that are on strike, can they just force them to work? Or do they just force it to open and then have Coast Guard or somebody else do it? I can't remember how it happened with the train strike. But yeah, one more thing after one thing after another. And this is going to affect inflation. How are all of these almost seemingly purposeful things happening? Like, up above, we've all seen these like political movies and political shows where they show them, the House Whip or something going, I need you to do this and this and that so these guys do this, and I need you to put pressure on these guys so you do that. What's crazy is that these shows are derived from the reality of our system, that this is happening. Somebody could have paid some of the top guys to go in there and say, we need more money and start all of this. And otherwise, again, it might be that they need more money because there's crazy inflation right now and everyone is struggling. Maybe they caused this to cause that. I don't know. I don't think people are really going to know for a couple days here how bad this is if this keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, think about everything that comes in from different parts of the world. Yeah, West Coast is a lot, but even the East Coast, you've got things like, from bananas and food that may drive up our grocery prices to chocolate coming in and booze. There's a ton of booze that comes in from Europe that won't be here anymore. And then all of the European auto manufacturers. There's a ton of auto cars that come in from Europe that are going to come in on the East Coast, not on the West Coast.
People said cars and trucks, and then dog food and cat food. I guess somebody said that a lot of that comes in East Coast.
And don't forget, coming in is what we think about because we're like, oh, we want to consume. We're all consumers. But at the end of the day, we all manufacture things too. And we have to ship them out, and we can't ship them out. So imagine all of your work, for those of you that maybe work at an auto factory that ships cars out to Europe. Those are going to stop. You're going to get backlogged, and you're going to have to stop production potentially unless you've got storage for all those vehicles.
Yeah, this is not good. And it sorry, it all seems like this is all happening right before we pick the prez. Something massive is going on right under our noses. And as this is all happening here, Putin orders conscription of 133,000 new soldiers to fight on the front line. Remember, just about a week and a half ago, Putin signed in this declaration or something like that. Basically said that they were going to add 180,000 troops to their active list. So not just like front line, but to their active list. So they're actually going to grow their military by 180,000. That 190,000 ends up equaling, 2.5 million or something with all of the soldiers. Like they have an active thing of less than 1 million or something. They're adding this to the active. That's 180,000 salaries as well, too. They have to pull that out of their junk bag here. Now they're conscripting 133,000 new soldiers to fight on the front line. Vladimir Putin has ordered the conscription, 133,000 of 18 to 30-year-olds will be called up between tomorrow and December 31st. But parents have raised fear that the untrained conscripts will be thrust straight into hot border regions close to the war zone. The figure is higher than the same draft last year when Putin recruited 130,000, and in spring when he drafted another 150,000. The Russian regime is facing an increasing backlash over the use of conscripts close to the war zone in defiance of an earlier Putin promise to parents that he would not put recruits in harm's way. One grieving Russian mother has risked arrest by demanding from Putin why her untrained conscript son at 18 was perished in the war, as she accused the autocrat of lying. Well, it is war. But, another thing about this is they have a current military, trained up military, and if there is some truth to that, if they're actually sending the recruits right to the front line, which I would believe because they did send the prison folks to the front line. We already heard stories because that was when this all started. Some of those prisoners got their sentence released if they didn't perish, which apparently a ton of them did. And then the other conscripts that they gave, older folks a chance. Both sides did this. I mean, this is nuts. So, are they saving their regular military for a coming war? That's what I think. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, do you have an opinion on, why? Is it just because he needs guys? Because 130 probably just perished?
Well, I think that's just for the front lines. The UKR, we know he's got trying to grow to the second largest military in the world. So we talked about that a while back. So that's coming too. So I don't know how much of that's going to be conscription versus enlistment, but yeah.
Gosh. I cannot miss this any longer. Julie Bratcher, thank you. Says, Jesus is coming, be ready. Thank you for the support. Thank you for supporting Independent. Julie Bratcher, thank you. Carol, thank you. Says, Marf and Dex J, you are in my heart. Thank you very much, and thank you for the super. Let's see here. Scott Dixon. Let's go. Anywho, Cali in the Bay area, we have crazy family people too, man holding babies and kids and etc., begging, and more aggressive kinds of crazy. Anyways, stay safe, be everyone be prepared. Sorry, I know Scott, you use voice to text, so it might have been a little off there. Scott Dixon, yeah, if you haven't seen the video that I did last night on Marfoogle News, our sister channel, it's a very specific scam, and from what I have found out from the grocery store, they said that this is happening on a daily basis, and they've seen dozens of different people doing it. These are not Americans that just found a new scam. These are folks from other countries going into grocery stores, straight up walking in the milk aisle, and apparently it's always an attractive woman, and then they have a tiny baby. The tiny baby is not actually that woman's baby. They're asking, oh, can you buy us groceries? We think, oh, well, they're just trying to survive, right? They're hustling, asking people to buy them food. What they do is they end up slipping. They get a ton of groceries. They get some mark that thinks the woman's cute. The guy doesn't want to look like a cheapskate. He's probably, oh, there's no limit. It's for you and the baby. Then they throw in Visa gift cards into the mix. In this case, last night, or was it last night or the night before? They slipped in a $100 Visa gift card in between produce. And my daughter was actually the checker, ended up seeing it, and when they get gift cards, they put it on the table. The woman snatched it, put her chest up on the table, snuck it behind. If you're looking at the checker, there's that little sign your checks area. She went, and tried to act like super flirtatious. I get that's how she described it. Say, grabbed it, put it down below towards my daughter, and then down right into her purse, which she set right next to that thing. Like she knew. And at the same time, right before that, her sister, the other partner, ended up saying, "Oh, sir, the baby's pointing at candy. Can I grab Skittles for her?" And he looks back towards her and says, "Oh yeah, go ahead." The gift cards are the grift. The food, I'm sure, helps, but the gift cards, they're going to sell for cash, and that might be peddling up to a organized crime ring, which if there's dozens of these people doing it and they're all from different places, then it's probably something like that. People said, "Why didn't my daughter tell the guy?" First of all, the employees of a lot of these grocery stores, I won't say which one, they're not supposed to say anything. In fact, now if somebody's carrying out a beer, if 16-year-olds go in for a beer run, they're not allowed to say anything. They're not even allowed to go, "Stop, put that down." Some do, but most of them that want to keep their union jobs don't. If you have a man and a wife and the wife sneaks in a gift card, you don't say stuff, even if you know it's a scam, because then all of a sudden you might cause some sort of domestic dispute. So that's again a lot of the reasons why. But my daughter was naive. She thought it was so weird. And until after, because I was waiting shopping, which I forgot to say, I was shopping and I was waiting for her to get off to give her a ride home. So I was walking around the store. I saw the proposal of him, and they skipped me. They skipped me because I was scrubby, and this guy with earbuds and everything else was there. So I saw the proposal. She did not. All she saw was that he said, "Oh, I'm paying for her." And what my daughter thought is, "Oh, you guys are together?" She said, "You guys are together?" And that was what it was. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but this is, in my city, is one of the sanctuaries. It is happening everywhere. I am so in disbelief. So one of my men on the streets, I am going to go get video, and I will prove this to you. It is not only every day, it is dozens, if not hundreds of people at all of these locations, not only setting up businesses, setting up carts with handmade stuff. And you think about this and you're like, "Oh, well, they're just trying to make a buck." They came over illegally and they are literally grifting people. They are scamming people. They're selling stolen goods to people. It's messed up. Comments, I saw a bunch. Illegal is illegal. Yes, you were right. And what the disturbing part is they're using little ones. One thing I thought was interesting is I didn't even think about this. The baby that the woman at the Walmart had looked identical, like the age, like 4 or 5 days age. And I thought, man, what if the one in the grocery store, I think that the third lady who also was asking people, she was the real mom. The two grifters were just grifters, and they were borrowing the baby to do it. The other woman looked she was 60, and she had a little baby. What if they're using those fake baby dolls no offense to some of you if you do this, but there are some weird people out there that have the fake baby dolls and they go to conventions and whatever else. They're real rubber dolls that look real, like scary real. What if they're using those? Because every one of these scammers has them on a chest pack facing them. So they have realistic looking hair and stuff. What if they're not even real babies? So again, if you do see that, maybe go, "Oh, he's so cute. Can I see his face?" Ask, because I'm curious if these are real babies or not. I would actually be happier if these were not real babies outside at 9 o'clock in the Walmart I was at. It's one of the most dangerous Walmarts out there. It's got shootings all the time. And this woman's walking around with a brand new baby. And you say, "Oh, they have a baby. They're just trying to..." Nope. I don't even think it's their babies. So watch that video. Again, I go through the whole thing that happened and the last week of scams that I've seen just at stores. And some could hear it and go, "Oh, maybe this is exaggeration." If you live here, then you already know. This is no exaggeration. You cannot go into one store in some of these areas and not be accosted by not one, not by two, by 3 people either trying to bring you bracelets. It's like we're the tourists in our own city. Think about if you go to Mexico and you have all these people coming, oh, buy my bracelets. Oh, I have hammocks for sale. That's what's happening in our parking lots right now. People have rolling carts with stuff. They have, it's just nuts. Some people are supporting it. I don't understand it. Helene, we've been talking about this for a few days. It left destruction way greater than anybody thought was going to happen. It's just a massive devastation. Apparently, they just caught JB saying, no, there's not going to be any additional help. I am praying for all of you guys from Florida, Georgia, into North Carolina, Tennessee, all of these places that have been affected. I am praying hard for you guys because I know that right now there's rumors that you're not going to get that much help, or you might not get the help you need. Dex, go ahead.
There's still 1.7 at least, or 1.6 million people without power. Now, Florida has fixed a lot of theirs. They're down to like 70,000. But in Georgia, it's almost 500,000 people without power. In South Carolina, it's over 500,000, like 638,000 customers without power. And in North Carolina, another 378,000. And then, of course, you've got Virginia, West Virginia with outages as well. So not just, and they describe it as the power lines look like spaghetti. And it's not just from the wind, it's from all the floods. They had dams rupture. They had massive river overflows and running everywhere. Houses have been completely washed away. It's insane, some of what you've seen. And it just makes you wonder, I look at this and think about it from a strategic point of view. What's the strategy behind something like this? If this was, if something like this were directed, of course, we know where Florida, South Carolina, and even North Carolina and Georgia and other states in the South, where they lie. It makes you just wonder, because we see all these things, and there's even more tropical storms potentially coming in that are all heading into this area. And I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about it. And then, now we strike the ports.
Great comment there. The port striking, and again, remember the billions to Ukraine, including last week. They sent, what was it, 7 or 8? Wasn't it like, it was in the billions. They dedicated another $6 or $7 billion to Ukraine. Meanwhile, there's comments saying, "Oh well, they've got their budget to work with," kind of thing. What in the hell? $8 billion, Tony Hamby. Yeah, thank you. But wait, let's send all of our National Guard to Kuwait. That isn't happening too, right? Have I covered that? I hope that's not happening. Gosh.
Tennessee National Guard's heading over there. Yeah, it's part of the troop movement.
Oh my God. Tennessee, but that's one of the, not only is that one of the parts that's affected, that's by the East Coast where they'll need help. This is just stupid. Jonathan Earl, what is happening? I bet you're going to see a lot of regular people helping. That's the great part, when America comes together and people travel hundreds of miles to go help these people. There's a lot of good people out there too. All right, and then before we move on, go check out Jace, especially if you have medication. With all of these different events happening right now, just imagine a day where you can't go to the ER, you can't go to the hospital, you can't go to the pharmacies. That is a scary thing for anybody that is especially dependent on a daily medication. Jace is our recommendation. If you are in the prepping world, you probably already have Jace on your speed internet dial, right? But if you don't, this is a great service. It's an easy service. You can do it from the comfort of your couch. Do a telehealth appointment with a board-certified doctor, and you can get yourself either a Jace case, which is all of the commonly prescribed antibiotics, in a handy case with all sorts of add-ons that you can even add on albuterol. You can even add on iodine tablets, and you can even add on things that were really hard to get for certain time periods because CNN didn't like them. But not only on top of the Jace case, you can also get a year supply of your prescription. Now, not all prescriptions, I don't believe they have everything, but many of the daily kind of meds, they do. So Jace Daily is another plan where you can actually get a 12-month extended supply of your daily meds. If you're a caregiver, really, really a great thing to look at, because if the lights turn off tomorrow, what are you going to do? The first places that will be hit, probably liquor stores and pharmacies. So, and most of us are all hoping that none of that ever happens. But if you look at our economy, if you look at our country, if you look at our world, and if you look at the attempts on our former prez, if you look at the potential for civil unrest, if you look at all of these things, it is hard not to say you should be a prepper right now. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace, use the code MARF. You're going to save money on it. So not only are you getting something of value that could possibly save your life, because a cut on your finger could turn into a funeral if you don't have modern medicine, and you're also going to be helping independent news at the same time. You get something out of it you can keep. You're not just donating. You are actually getting something for you at a discount and helping us at the same time. Thank you guys for doing so. We do appreciate it. That's again, marfooglenews.com/Jace. And then Russian-held Zaporizhia. Dex, let's go over this. And this is the nuclear plant. Says that Ukraine again attacks the substation, according to Russia.
Well, we got two stories here. So you got one side, and just look at it from a headline perspective, right? Russian-held Zaporizhia nuclear power plant says Ukraine again attacks substation. And then the other one is Russia pounds Ukraine's Zaporizhia city with guided boomers, injuring 16. Now, they both may be true, and if that's just the case, then let's just leave it at wow, look at how hot the conflict is around this massive nuclear plant. Not a good idea. We've talked about what would happen should something devastating break down at this plant, because it will basically funnel up through the rest of Europe. It doesn't necessarily head into Russia, at least the way the winds flow and the way it's been projected in the past as we've talked about it. This is an old subject that's been around for 2 years now that this conflict has been going on. But it's interesting to hear the two different sides of the story. They're both pointing fingers at each other. They both actually may be doing it for all we know. But the point is, we do know that that Russia's tactic is to go after the infrastructure. Now, it doesn't make much sense for them to actually hit the Zaporizhia plant because they actually control it and they're inside it. It's Russian controlled. So they wouldn't necessarily strike the plant that they're in. Well, maybe they would, but that wouldn't make logical sense. But nonetheless, when you look at this again, we're at this hot spot where there are, very large munitions going off near this location, right up against this massive nuclear power plant. That should be concern for all. And no matter who's the one responsible for doing it, it's happening. And then what is going to be the fallout, and who's going to get prepared for this? And
yeah, you're right. Like, if they were in control of it, why would they attack the thing itself, right? Like why would you attack your own pipeline? But that's exactly what happened. Dex, can you hear my wink?
Oh, yeah.
And yes, my winks are loud. I think you get the point. And then the IDF begins ground operation in southern Lebanon. There's a lot more that actually goes on with this, and we put more of the details in our Marfoogle News short. That's a short shareable video that you can get out to your friends and family. But to give you just a kind of a general rundown, it is appearing that there will be a ground invasion of Lebanon. There is news that Lebanon is possibly pulling out their military because they're going after Hezbollah, not directly Lebanon, but Lebanon helps fund and all of that. So are they pulling out, and they wanted to pull them back, what was it, 5 meters, or I'm sorry, 5 miles back, or
5 kilometers.
Kilometers. Back. They're going to pull them 5 kilometers back from the border and evacuate anybody that's there in preparation for the potential for Israel to come in.
And yeah, it's confirmed. They've crossed the border.
Oh, man.
They're already in. Yeah. I think that's, they went in 2 ways. They went in underground, which would technically cross the border, but they also went in above ground. And those ground forces have aircraft support, and I think they even said tanks have entered multiple villages in southern Lebanon.
So it has begun. It is literally begun. I don't see how this isn't going to escalate. You got to go watch our other video. But as we talk about, Dex mentioned Turkey. Erdogan. He made some very specific comments, and Erdogan's, and I guarantee you, he's going to be involved anyways because he's always in the news. It's almost like he likes being clipped for the internet. But he said we not only will, but it's almost like we must invade Israel if this goes any further and if this goes south. And it did. It went southern border, and that's what's happening right now. So go over that video. It has more details and other stories that actually go right along with it. I believe there's three stories or 3 or 4 stories that actually go right hand in hand. So to get that story, you should definitely go check out that 12-minute video, I think it is, or something like that. It was a very short video. And it is something you can share with your friends and family. Make sure they get prepped and prepared. Because a massive Middle East war means a massive world war. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And I think it's also their way to get us into this pact for the future. It's not looking good. But that doesn't mean we can't have hope. Dex,
it
go ahead.
Certainly weakens it, Adam. It weakens us because we're going to be distracted. We're distracted in Europe. We're distracted now in the Middle East. And you know who's waiting, just waiting for this to happen, and that's Xi. And then you're going to see it all fall in the Pacific theater. And there you have the global outbreak.
Scott Dixon says it's everywhere here in San Jose area, Marf. It's crazy. Yep, and you are a state just like mine. Telling you, get video of it. Send it to me if you have a chance. Get you guys all. If you have video of these scams going on around the country, I will add them into my video, and I'm going to get this on video. I think it's actually going to be really, really, really eye-opening for people. Especially for a lot of folks. I talk to a lot of people that they are saying that they almost entirely shop online. Like even groceries, they shop, they get it delivered to their house through all of these different services. And I'm like, so a lot of these people aren't even seeing all of this go down. But those that are seeing it, get video of it. If you already have it on your phone, if you see some sketchy thing, if you're in the milk aisle and you see people asking somebody to buy them groceries, first of all, I guarantee you a little amount of people that might see this, they might tell a friend, and then that friend might tell another friend, and then that friend will be in a milk aisle seeing a woman with a baby. Oh, can you please buy me groceries, with 3 or 4 friends with them, and be like, no, that's a scam, and don't let them buy gift cards. It's like, it's just nuts. Inquiring minds, it is getting a bit spicy all around. A bit. I love it. Glass half full. And then old combat vet, give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes its laws. Mayor Amschel Bauer Rothschild. Just to quote that again, that's the Roth. Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes its laws. Because you don't need laws if you control the money. You don't care about who's making them. Carlton Sutton, trust the Lord in all your ways. Acknowledge him. Carlton, thank you. And I wanted to do a video in the next couple weeks just about some of the crazy things going on in the Christian community. It's just nuts. What they're making like legal documents and proposals against certain things. If you guys haven't followed the congressional meetings about how they're putting certain people on lists, I would highly recommend following that. I think it was Senator Hawley. Dex, did you see that clip of Hawley asking or grilling the FBI about, it might have been FBI or CIA. I think it was Burns. I don't think it was Christopher Wray. I think it was Burns. It was one of them. He was questioning why they're putting Catholics on special lists. Very, very weird.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
But go check that out. And thank you, everybody that has made it tonight. Thank you, everybody that has, of course, watched the Marfoogle news video as well. And everything here was available over on our website, marfooglenews.com, including that public safety alert. You can actually go to our website, marfooglenews.com, and then just click on any of the main pages. You'll find all of our thumbnails. For tonight's show, just look for this one. USA versus Iran. U.S. deployments scary, quote, pact for the future. Once you do, click on it, and you will find a full source list for every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. That way you know exactly where this information is coming from. Trinity's video is there. Of course, Survival Living video is there, so make sure to go watch it. All right, thank you guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Dex, thank you so much. I love you, brother.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. All these secret agents bringing our invasion. We all know this is persuasion. All these secret agents bringing our invasion. We all know this is persuasion. All these secret agents bringing our invasion. We all know this is persuasion. All these agents bringing our invasion. We all know this is persuasion. All these secret agents bringing our invasion. We all know this is persuasion. Persuasion, bringing up, this is persuasion. All right, we have a lot of people to thank here. Thank you so much. We have top supporter tonight, Julie Bratcher. Let's make a fresh one for Julie Bratcher.